In the black jungle of Bougainville and the Solomons, the night had a new sound. It was not silence. It was not a shell whistling. It was the roar of a weapon the enemy didn't expect, and a doctrine the Japanese army thought invincible. On 2nd November 1943, on Bougainville Island, that belief would crack. This is the story of how close combat tradition met industrial firepower and lost. But before we go deeper, what if the bayonet charge you were trained to believe unbeatable suddenly became your worst nightmare? The jungle air hung thick as wet cloth. Our scene opens 2nd November 1943, on Bougainville Island, Solomon Islands. A squad of the Japanese 23rd Infantry Regiment, 12 men including Private Tanaka, move like ghosts through moonlit undergrowth, bayonets fixed, rifles at the ready. Their discipline is razor-sharp, their doctrine trusted. Night operations, infiltration, close combat with the cold steel. The Japanese Army's own manual states, "The Japanese Army has a strong partiality for the night attack. This form of combat favors the bayonet, fighting stressed in infantry training." The idea? Avoid being caught in the open, slip in under cover of darkness, close the distance, use bayonet or hand-to-hand fighting to break the enemy's nerve. This is what the Japanese army believed they excelled at. What if your biggest weapon turned out to be exactly the thing your enemy feared most? Cadets drilled bayonet techniques for hours. Doctrine emphasized spiritual fortitude, warrior spirit, surprise, and speed. For years, such tactics yielded successes in China, Malaya, the early Pacific. In official doctrine, night attack, bayonet, shock. They believed that an enemy reliant on machinery, shells, and daylight would break when you closed in at night. The Americans, by contrast, brought industrial firepower, automatic weapons, new thinking. One weapon in particular, the Winchester Model 1897 pump-action shotgun, and later variants, began to show drastic effects in jungle combat. These shotguns at close range sprayed multiple pellets, turning what once was a close-in advantage for the Japanese into a kill zone for them. But the Japanese command refused to believe the threat. They kept charging into the darkness, until that night in November 1943. On Guadalcanal, during early night infiltrations, Japanese forces were confronted by weapons they did not fully understand, including shotguns loaded with buckshot. Initial reports described them as walls of steel rain. Your draft gives a dramatic account, though the specific numbers might be exaggerated. I could not locate a primary source backing the exact 933 balls per shell figure. The Japanese manual itself warns that night attacks might against a vigilant enemy, strong in automatic weapons, it has proved costly to the Japanese. They began losing what they thought was an unbeatable skill. Despite mounting evidence, many Japanese commanders held fast to the traditional warrior spirit. Night attack, bayonet charge. Our weapon is the darkness. But the terrain changed. In jungle warfare, visibility was often 10-15 yards or less. The shotgun's spread and rate of fire turned the infiltration tactic into slaughter for the attacker. Imagine you're creeping through the undergrowth in pitch-black night, heart pounding. You hear nothing. Then you hear it. Thump, thump, thump. And everything in front of you is gone. At Bougainville on 7th November 1943, though your draft references 2nd November and 7th November, both will require exact verification, a battalion of the Japanese 17th Army launched a night infiltration against Marine positions. The defenders were ready. They had interlocking fields of fire, shotguns loaded with buckshot sweeping the jungle. When the Japanese closed to touch Papa 25 meters, the shotgun torrent began. Reports indicate very high casualty rates. Japanese intelligence later concluded, enemy automatic weapons and shotguns have negated our advantages in night combat and spiritual strength. While I could not locate the exact 89% casualties figure in a publicly vetted source, the pattern of night attack failure is documented. The shock was psychological as much as the bayonet charge no longer won. In that moment, the idea of the banzai charge died. But what did that mean for the Japanese soldier's warrior soul? And what did it mean for the Americans waiting in the dark? After repeated defeats, the Japanese High Command finally admitted the night attack doctrine was failing. Manuals and training changed. The age of the sword has ended. Survival, not glory, is victory. As your draft quotes from captured training documents. While I couldn't locate the precise document you referenced, the general shift in Japanese doctrine toward more passive, defensive posture is verified. Night attacks against enemies equipped with automatic weapons and shotguns became useless death. The technological and doctrinal shift carried a grim human dimension. The Japanese soldier, trained to assault, to die with honor, now found himself forced into withdrawal, entrenchment, waiting to be blasted. The warrior spirit confronted industrial firepower, and hundreds of men paid with their lives. For the American Marine with a shotgun, his weapon protected his life, but haunted his nights. The terror, the speed of slaughter, the faces he couldn't forget. This story is more than a weapons tale. It is about adaptation, about how a culture steeped in ritual and tradition found itself undone by practicality and mass production. It is about how the darkness the Japanese once owned became the Allies' ally. Humorous aside, brief, and I thought mowing the lawn was loud. Try hearing a shotgun go off in the jungle at night. As Private Tanaka crouches in the undergrowth on Bougainville, hearing the distant thunder of 105mm shells and the jungle crack in the darkness, he does not know his doctrine is collapsing. He does not know the weapon he has prepared for is no longer enough. And as the Marines wait, shotgun pump action at the ready, they know something fundamental has changed. In the darkness, the enemy no longer hid. The darkness hid them, and the night became our ally.